It is the Mark Thompson Show, and of course, Thursday brings Belinda Waymouth to the show. It is time for It's the Planet, stupid.
The planet Earth.
Some call me nature.
I am very passionate about the planet.
Earth.
A living, breathing planet capable of sustaining whatever life forms we see fit to deposit on it.
Spock, judging by the pollution content of the atmosphere, I believe we have arrived.
It's the planet stupid.
No. It's the planet stupid.
Start it without that. Absolutely. Let's bring Belinda Waymouth onto the show. Hi, Belinda.
Good morning, Kim. How
Good
are
morning.
you?
I'm good. How are you?
It's afternoon.
It is actually. It is. You doing okay?
I am. I'm super well, thanks. How about you?
Good. I've been watching this COP28. It's the committee of something. I don't know.
Conference of the parties, and they've been meeting for almost 30 years.
And it's
look where we are.
And exactly. And it's what almost all the countries in the world converge.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point is that they're supposed to lay out plans for how they're going to reduce their impact on the planet and come up with strategies for their own country and then present them and talk about it and everything else. But it's happening, what, in the United Arab Emirates?
It's happening in the United Arab Emirates, and the president of COP28 is Sultan Al Jaber, who is also head of ADNOC, which is the UAE's biggest oil company. It's one of the biggest and dirtiest fossil fuel companies in the world, as we discussed last week. So it's really sort of an anathema that, it's there and that he's in charge. And right. There've been some revelations this week, which we'll get to. Day one was good. Day one of COP was good. The plenary day, they agreed on the loss and damage fund. And this is a fund where wealthy nations put money into the kitty, and it gets given out in grants, not loans, to poor nations who are on the front lines of climate change, who have done very little as far as adding to the greenhouse gases that are in the atmosphere, but they are bearing the brunt of climate change. And one of the things about this fund is it's not a charity, it's really more of an obligation. It needs to be seen as that because, us rich nations, we've all industrialized, we've used fossil fuels to do that. Initially, we didn't know what burning fossil fuels was doing to the atmosphere, but we have known for the last 50 years that it was heating up the planet. Now, of course, Sultan Al Jaber, was like, this is a victory. But so far, the amount of the money's pledged, $700 million only. That is considered less than 0.2% of what's needed. Every year, climate damage is estimated to run between $100 and $580 billion. So yeah, here we've got our guy John Kerry, we've got all these leaders, and it's sort of unbelievable that the Sultan, who's a fossil fuel guy, is the president, because he is they've allowed over 2,400 oil lobbyists and proponents.
It's like the fox in charge of the hen house. What's happening?
Yeah, it's totally sleeping with the enemy. So this is 4 times the number of fossil fuel lobbyists who were at the last COP. And UAE, United Arab Emirates, delegates who were at COP28 have been told, make oil and gas deals on the side. So it's really, talking out one side of your mouth while you're doing, while the hands behind the back are doing something completely different. It's crazy. And then, there were these leaked tapes that The Guardian got hold of Al Jaber saying that phasing out fossil fuels, it's not scientifically proven that will keep global planetary heating to 1.5 degrees Celsius, which was agreed upon at COP, that was held in Paris in 2015, that we absolutely need to keep life, to keep the planet livable for human beings and other species, we had to, limit heating to only 1.5 degrees Celsius. So he's obviously, saying that was taken out of context and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm telling nations they have to triple their renewable energy and double their energy efficiency and make deeper cuts in emissions. But all of that, none of what gets discussed at COP, these COPs is binding. The nations are allowed to say, okay, we're going to reduce our emissions. This is how we're going to do it. I mean, they just, but there's no one that, who's going around saying, oh, okay, well, Norway is doing really well. And, United States is doing great on one, hand, but then we've become the biggest oil and gas producing nation in the world. And we're only opening up to more and more drilling. I mean, we had Trump the other day when he was interviewed by Sean Hannity saying he was only going to be a dictator on day one and he was going to drill for oil. Was one of the things he was going to do.
Yeah.
So it's a little it's frustrating because scientists and so many of us, do know what needs to be done. And one of the things that's really interesting, along with this loss and damage, the other thing that they are talking about, and this came up also at the Paris COP, was this GST, global stock take, how, sort of looking at nations and at their climate goals, what's being done to achieve them, how effective is the collective progress towards limiting heating to 1.5. Well, the fact is it isn't, Kim. We're supposed to be, by 2030, which is 7 years away, our emissions are supposed to be 40% below what they were in 2015. Well, right now,
I don't think we're going to make it.
No, but they're going to be more. By 2030, they're going to be more than what they are today.
Please.
So it's really, what's the word to describe it?
Disillusioning, outrageous.
Yeah, it's sort of, it's a bit of a travesty, and the thing about the funding, that if you help these poorer countries adapt, and the more money you put into mitigations, then you would actually be spending less on damages. But we're just not forward thinking enough to see it in those terms. Like, the more we spend now mitigating, the less we'd actually have to give to these other countries. But can I just run through what countries have pledged to give to the loss and damage fund? Because I think it's quite interesting. Okay. So the UAE, it's on their turf. So day one, they said, okay, we're giving $100 million. And Germany said, we're giving $100 million. And then Italy and France both promised, they haven't given it yet, but they're going to up that to $108 million each.
Okay.
Then we get to the US. The US is ringing in at $17.5 million. I mean, it's pretty outrageous. I mean, I know we're giving that the US is giving a lot of money right now to a couple of wars that are happening. But you've got a country like Ireland with a population of 5.3 million, and they've pledged $27 million. I mean, they're ahead of us, So, I mean,
is that embarrassing? I mean, does it say that we're not following up our lip service with actions? Does it say that we don't really prioritize helping the planet, sustaining our planet, if we're not willing to put the money where the mouth is?
Well, I think that's absolutely the case. I think the thing is that, we've got companies and governments saying that they really get that climate change is serious, that we need to be addressing it, that we need to be mitigating it. And yet, I mean, what happened here with the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, that was the biggest amount of money ever earmarked to fight climate change. So that was a huge win for Biden. $369 billion. It's huge. But if you're doing that on one hand, but on the other hand, we're drilling more and more, and we're opening up, this Willow project in Alaska, it doesn't add up. It just doesn't, and to have all these companies saying, well, we're going to reduce our emissions and we're going to be at net zero by 2050. But without, this is what the big thing is. If you don't have climate focused regulations enforced by the government, then we're not really going to be able to meet these targets, because and all economists agree that once we tax carbon, that will make businesses reduce their emissions, because when it affects your profits and the quarterly returns that you show to your shareholders, of course that will motivate you to act. And it really, everyone believes is the only, I say lever, but you say lever, the lever that would really move the dial, for businesses, that that then you wouldn't just get this greenwashing where they're all saying, oh, we're going to be moving to renewables. ExxonMobil had said that they were going to be putting half their capital investment towards renewables. Do you know how much they're actually putting towards? Not 50%, it's something like 2%.
What?
Yeah, two.
So how can they get away with lying like that?
Well, this is the thing, because there's a lot of greenwashing going on. I mean, I was reading this thing about ExxonMobil, and they were saying that all over their marketing documents and their website, there are over 800 commitments to reducing our carbon footprint, and yet they're not actually doing it. So, talk is cheap. The thing that you were just saying, talk is cheap, but it's actually what we do. And I think the thing is, we just have to have governments that get way braver. The Colombian leader said at COP, that they really are going to be, phasing out of fossil fuels. The writing is on the wall and they have to. But you don't want leaders and advocates going to COP28 and sort of making all these promises that, that they're not really going to keep. I think the thing is, you've got this big group and everyone's together and they go, oh, you're right. It's this existential crisis and we absolutely have to deal with it. And you get sort of excited in the room and you go, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And when you get back to your home countries, you get a lot of pushback from industry, fossil fuels, your population's not wanting to change. But you just have to be brave and say, this is what we have to do for our future. Don't you think, Kim? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer to me.
Well, you're talking about, back home, what people are thinking about. And I was just reading an article that Trump held a town hall this week. And one of the things he did was lash out at John Kerry, Biden's climate envoy here. And he's saying, what did he say? He's saying that climate change is not a problem. And here's the quote: "The only global warming we should be thinking about or worrying about is nuclear global warming." That is what Trump is saying. And if you look at how far ahead he is in the polls, and that he will likely be the Republican nominee for president again, then does that say that there's a lot of Americans that don't take climate change seriously? And if that's the case, how do we work around people to try to preserve some health of our planet?
Yeah, that's such a good question. How do we? Because it really is about our elected officials and who is going to be in the White House, as we go forward. Because we need bold leadership, we need someone who is absolutely climate literate as opposed to illiterate, which, obviously Trump is. I mean, it's really ridiculous, and to talk about this drill. But we're in, we've got, when you look at young voters, their issue, Gen Z and young millennials, they really are concerned about the climate. To them, that is more important than the economy. And I do wonder about these polls and what is going to happen on election day. Because, voting for Joe Biden is voting for the climate. And, to me, it seems like this is, the number one issue. Because if you don't, get that climate change is one of the drivers of inflation, then you're not paying attention. Things costs of things are being affected by what we're doing to the planet and a heating up atmosphere. So, you can be short term, you can go with a populist leader because, he vents your anger for you. But, if you think about your children and the future of the planet, then I would hope that you would make a more informed, choice when you're, at the pole.
So overall, as we run out of time here,
Mm-hmm.
not much really hope for COP28 being something that will lead to anything great.
Well, they're working on the GST, the global stock take, and of course they fight over every word in it, and every time they bring out phase out of fossil fuels, Saudi Arabia jumps in and says it has to be phase out of fossil fuel emissions. They just want to deal with emissions, and they want to keep on talking about carbon capture, which means they actually want to keep drilling and pumping, and then deal with it, deal with the emissions on the back end. Whereas really, and then everyone else is saying, no, we have to phase out fossil fuels. Yeah. So, hopefully in this last week, they are able to create a document that has some, bold and ambitious mitigation strategies in it. And then, hopefully we're able to act on them. And I just keep coming back to, to what Biden has done. I mean, I do get on one hand, it's great. And on the other hand, what are you doing with this, more drilling? This is crazy. What are you doing with the Willow Project? Yep. But I think if Biden gets elected for a second term, I think he's really going to be getting down to business on the planet and climate, because this will be his second and last term. So, that's what I envision will happen. And I think people do need to see the wins and the things that he has done. I think there's a lot of talk about the age of both the candidates, which I'm not saying isn't, valid, because I absolutely think it is valid. Right. But I think you also have to look at the track record of these two, if these are going to be the candidates, which it looks like, right now, like they are going to be the two candidates. Yeah. Belinda Weymouth, thank you for coming on. Thank you for bringing us all the information that you always do. And I'm looking forward to the next 3 weeks as Mark goes on his cruise to be able to chatting with you every week, which I don't normally get to do. Yeah, me too. We'll have fun. We'll definitely have fun. And next week I'll bring some, good news rather than just this sort of, back and forth, which is a bit frustrating to watch. Well, not a bit, But we'll have fun, Kim. We'll have
awesome.
Fun.
Have a great week, Belinda. Thank you so much.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that is
more.
It's the planet stupid. No, it's the planet stupid.
Next time, only on The Mark Thompson Show.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.